Hi, I'm Wack.
Hey, and I'm Pat. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Weekly Orbit. We're coming to you a day early this week for Thursday, October 17th. We got some exciting news to go through. It's a good week to go early, I think, Wack.
Absolutely, yeah. Wait to get all that news out. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, let's put that in our back pocket for just a second. We'll go over markets real quick. It's actually been a pretty decent week. Ethereum right now is at 2,607. We're up on the week, 7.5%. The BTC ratio is 3.9 last week, and we're at lower. Yeah,
I think we're actually close to hitting a cycle low now as well for the BTC ratio.
Mm-hmm.
We're like triple tapping that bottom, but yeah, it's been a bad week on the ratio, but on the dollar price, it's looking okay.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. On Rocket Pool, let's take a look at Rocket Pool, the 7-day. Right now we're $11.13. And on the week, we're up 10.5%. So the ratio is looking a little good there.
Yep.
We're currently at 0.0042. So not so bad. Markets are up. Things are feeling good. And let's talk about why I'm feeling really good. This week we had, Monday, should we say? Or is it Tuesday? I'm losing track of my days. It's been a hectic week for me. Yeah,
Tuesday.
So we had NodeSet Constellation went live, and this is, I think, the first stake of RPL right here, right? 1,106 and 0.82 RPL. That's 4.8 ETH worth. Was staked on October 14th at 8:41 p.m. That's my time. So that is awesome to see. We've got, we're going to go through a couple things here. First, if you want to get some documentation of Gravitas Constellation, which is how you would stake your ETH or RPL, I've got a link in the show notes. It'll give you some documentation. And this, folks, this is what it looks like through Gravitas. Okay, so pretty standard user interface. You can stake your ETH or your RPL. Right now, the vault, the XR ETH vault, is worth 1.0. It's well over $1 million in just over 24 hours, right?
No, under 24 hours since the official launch, but yeah, just over 24 hours since things started happening, basically.
And we got the RPL vault is close to $1 million as well. So pretty successful launch so far. If you're running a node for NodeSet, you could access this on, and I'll tell you what the pool looks like. And this is kind of expected. We are flush with RPL, and we are ETH constrained. So right now there's about 7 ETH in the ETH pool, and we got over 35,000 RPL in the RPL pool. So
yeah,
it's awesome. I was so happy to see us go live. People were excited. People were in Discord, Wack, all talking about it. It's creating buzz. It seems to be coming out of the starting gate pretty strong. Any thoughts?
Yeah, like this has been years in the making, 2 years in the making for them to get to this point. The protocol launch is always an exciting time, and I'm sure a scary time. You put all your years of work into it, and I'm sure that you think, how's it going to work out? How are people going to respond to this? But the response has been really positive. The response has been really encouraging. People have been like cheering them on. I think that day one, it's always people just want to kind of kick the tires and see how everything's looking, making sure that everything looks okay, and there aren't any bugs that come up right away. But they've already got 40 validators running now, so that's awesome. And they've got RPL, collateral that's going with that, which is really cool as well. And as there's an army of node operators waiting. Over 100 node operators now have registered, gone through the testnet, are ready to go. And they are waiting now for more ETH to come in, and then they can start validators. So like you said, they've got a big chunk of RPL there. Maso put in 75,000 RPL just to make sure that there was liquidity on day one. And half of that has already been used up with those 40 validators. I think, as far as I know, if more validators come online, then Maso has more RPL to deposit into there. So I don't think they're too worried about the RPL side right now. The thing that they might be thinking about is the ETH side, but right now I don't think they're thinking about that too much either. Like, it's just day one, and hopefully in the coming few hours, maybe a couple of days, they'll have more and more ETH being deposited on there, and more of the node operators coming online as well. So 260 node operators have been approved. I think just over 100 or 120 have gone through the testnet. So once they get, the rest of those approved node operators through the testnet and onto mainnet, then they'll be in, more than enough node operators to get any influx of ETH staking. So it's really, really exciting. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think Wander, I saw him say, maybe, or was it Nick? I think it was Wander who said that on the top of their priority list next is to go through the next set of potential node operators to add to that 260 list. And so if you're out there and you're on the waiting list, you might be getting contacted soon.
Mm-hmm.
So coming out of the gate, did this overall, Wack, did the launch come sooner than you thought? Say, let's go back 2 months ago. Did you think it would be launched October 15th? Or were you thinking more like November?
Yeah, I think originally I was thinking November. And I think what the guys have done is they didn't take shortcuts, but they kind of truncated things a little bit in a really smart way. So what they did was they got the testnet running while they got their first 2 audit results in, while they were waiting for their third one. And that basically gave them a good time of overlap between getting things done and being on testnet at the same time, instead of waiting for all their audits to finish before launching the testnet, which is kind of what we've seen in the Rocket Pool community, I guess. And that basically shaved off that good 2 to 4 week period of their estimate timeline, because they got their, they were still talking to the auditors, right? So like Sigma Prime is the audit that they were waiting for. They were still talking to them, seeing if there were any bugs coming up, seeing if there were any issues coming up, and they were kind of like fixing it on the fly. And the fact that because they didn't get any major and critical bugs, which they didn't expect to get, then that meant that everything was good to go. So they were able to just launch it because they already had been on testnet. They already had over 100 of their node operators like going through the testnet at that point. So I think that shaved off some time. I think another thing that shaved off some time as well is having other little efficiencies basically in their process. So I think in all, they shaved off at least 2 to 4 weeks basically in the process, which is great. And every minute counts, right? So now they've just got to build up that TVL because, of course, TVL begets TVL. And, they've got some ideas for DeFi, some ideas for integrations. Once those get up and going, then I think it'll bring more and more attention to NodeSet and more trust in their product that is working fine. And, Lindy effects take time, right? Like, Rocket Pool's been going for nearly 3 years and, hasn't had any major hacks or any major bugs or anything like that in that time. So people have confidence in it, whereas Constellation is brand new. So people don't want to, YOLO all their money into it, which kind of makes sense as well. So, well, like YOLO all your money, like it's thankfully like that's only a small portion of Marcel's money. So,
no worries.
Like $750,000. It's like whatever. But no, seriously speaking, I think he's got more RPL where that came from to put into this, and he is of course banking on NodeSet to be a big success and wants to kind of be involved in that in the ways that he is. So yeah.
Is that something that Rocket Pool can we take that same approach, say for Saturn 1, where while the audit's going on, we are running the testnet, or is it kind of different? Explain that to me. Is that something that perhaps we could shave off a month off launching Saturn 1? What do you think?
Yeah, so there was a community call last night, actually, and the last couple of community calls that have happened, Langas has kind of talked about something called a DevNet. So you might know that, on the Ethereum side, what happens is, you get the next hard fork planned in, we're working towards Pectra right now, Pectra 1. And what you'll start seeing is, in the months leading up to Pectra 1, you'll start seeing something called DevNets. So these are localized forks of the mainnet, and that's just for developers, and people can kind of mess around on there and kind of test out things. And I think that the Rocket Pool community, the Rocket Pool team have kind of learned the lesson of Ethereum DevNets, and what they want to do, as Langas has said, is they want to set up DevNets for Saturn 1. So what will happen is as they build out certain features, and the first feature they build out likely will be the Minipool and the queue system, deposit queue system. What they'll do is they'll put that onto a DevNet so the community can kind of start playing around with it. And then after they build out the next feature, then they'll make a new DevNet for the community to start playing around with it. So this is a new idea, a new way of things for Rocket Pool to do this, because we've never really done this before. And I think it's a really exciting way that, it could potentially shave off some time. Another thing that came up in the community call yesterday was Langer saying that Saturn 1 is on target for Q2 or Q3 release of 2025. However, Ken kind of called him up on some indications that he's been making that things are going better than expected. So maybe there's an idea that some time could be shaved off there as well. I don't know. The team are very reluctant, just how the NodeSet and Constellation guys were kind of reluctant to give a set date. Hopefully, we're on track with all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
What do you expect? I was looking at so we got two. Let's back up a little bit just for new users for NodeSet. Let's go through the mechanics and how this works. There's people can deposit ETH or RPL into Constellation, and then that's matched up with the ETH is then matched up with the Rocket Pool deposit pool. All right. So could you just go through the mechanics of how that works? Because we've got two. I think I started this out by showing what the deposit pool is for, I don't know where we are here. There it is. This is the deposit pool for NodeSet, but there's another deposit pool, and that's in Rocket Pools. We got all these deposit pools. Can you make sense of all this?
Absolutely.
Just for our users, because I don't want to confuse everyone how it works.
Yeah, okay. Let's think of Constellation as a separate entity for now, okay? Just put that out of your mind. So in the Rocket Pool, the way it works is you have a node operator, and the node operator has ETH, and they have RPL, and that person basically, it tends to be almost always the case that one node operator has those assets, and they come and they bring their ETH, and then people mint RETH, which is Rocket Pool's liquid staking token, and as people mint RETH, the RETH minters 24 ETH that they deposit gets matched up with 8 ETH from the node operator, and they start a validator basically. And that's how it works on the Rocket Pool side. Now, in the Constellation side is that instead of having a node operator, Constellation's like the NodeSet node operators become the NodeSet operator, but it's actually one giant contract for Constellation. So Constellation itself started as a node operator on Rocket Pool. So now the Constellation behind their scenes is they have their own mechanisms of people depositing ETH and RPL, and then that ETH and RPL becomes XRETH and XRPL, and that is matched up with the node operators who have been recruited by NodeSet. So it sounds slightly more complicated, but it's actually like another fractal on top of the Rocket Pool system, except that instead of having one person being, the ETH holder, RPL holder, and the node operator, here you could have 3 or many more people potentially bringing ETH, bringing RPL, and then the node operator being recruited by NodeSet. Now that Constellation contract is, for all intents and purposes for the Rocket Pool side, it's just like another Rocket Pool node operator. You can't tell the difference, right? Because you're not looking where that's coming from. All you see is that there's a node operator, they have some ETH, they have some RPL, and they spin up a validator. Then they get some more ETH, some more RPL, spin up another validator. So that's just how it works. So that's kind of like how it works as a layer 2 on top of Rocket Pool, is that it is able to kind of replace the existing system of node operators with a new contract basically that is going to act like that way instead. Now, like you're right, there is a deposit pool on Rocket Pool, and that's around 38,000 ETH right now, down from a high of over 40,000 a couple of weeks ago. And those Constellation validators, as they're coming online, they'll be taking ETH out of the Rocket Pool deposit pool and basically emptying it out. And that's the goal that, Constellation have. They're kind of marketing it as, project empty the deposit pool. And, they've started on there. It's already down over 1,000 ETH now because of their 40 validators, which is awesome. And I'm hoping that they will get down even more.
Yeah.
Was that a good enough explanation? Do you think I covered everything, or is there anything that you're still unsure about?
No. I think so. Here's an example. Say I don't have 8 ETH to spin up my own new mini pool, so I'm going to put. I have 1 ETH, so I put 1 ETH into Constellation, and in return I get XR ETH back, and that XR ETH is right now the highest yielding liquid staking token out there, because unlike Lido ST ETH and unlike Rocket Pool R ETH, you're not paying any commission. With R ETH, you're paying 14% commission. ETH, it's 10%. So you're getting the full yield on that LST token. So then so you put that. What happens is that 1 ETH, the 1 ETH that I put in, goes into the Constellation deposit pool, and then you need 7 other people. Say there's 7 other people with 1 ETH. They deposit their 1 ETH. Now you have 8, and now the contract will take that 8 ETH and interact with the Rocket Pool deposit pool and borrow 24 ETH to make a 32 ETH validator, and then it matches up. I think right now they have it set at 20% RPL collateral. So then it takes 20% of, which is like 1,100 RPL, the RPL pool, and then it stakes and makes a validator with both ETH and RPL. Sound right?
Yep,
essentially?
That's right.
Okay, so that's cool. So we've got 40 so far. We've lowered the Rocket Pool deposit pool by about 500 ETH, right? And you said it was around 40,000 at one point. No, over 1,000. That's right.
24,
correct.
40 validators, 20 times 4, just under 1,000. Yeah.
So that's great. In just less than a day. So that's awesome. We're going to be following this, and I'm sure we're going to have some people in the Rocket Pool community will come up with like different ways to track and create commands on Discord to pull up the most recent information on how the pools are going and everything. But let's move on to our next item, because it's been a busy week. Langer's here posted that in preparation for the Houston hotfix, we have deployed the Houston hotfix. Pardon me. So this is our RPIP 63, and this was kind of needed. It corrected a few things. And so why was this important? Like that the hotfix 63 we needed for other things, like including the Saturn 0, right?
Yeah. So the main thing for the hotfix, it was scheduled to fix a bug with the voting system, the on-chain voting system that was present at Houston. So this hotfix was created with that. While the hotfix was undergoing design and coding, the community came up with the idea of Saturn 0. And Saturn 0 part of the way Saturn 0 was designed and its scope and limitation was so that we didn't need extensive smart contract changes. What could happen is you could just have parameter changes on the network instead. One parameter, however, was set in such a way that you couldn't actually change it. That was RPL go down to 0, because it would have a divide by 0 error. So that needed to be fixed. So that was then included in the hotfix, just to give the possibility of there being, 0 RPL collateral requirements. So that then came in conjunction with Saturn 0, which is RPIP 62, because RPIP 62 wasn't be possible at a technical level without the contents of this hotfix. So the hotfix was voted through, approved by the community, passed the quorum and everything. So the team was kind of like getting ahead of that, saying that, hey, this is going to work. So let's put it on testnet before the vote officially passes. It went to testnet, everything was looking good. They, messed around with it, it looked fine. So then they publish the code to the ODAO, which is the step that we are at right now. And that means that the ODAO has 7 days to review the code and everything, and then they can start voting on it on Sunday, I think. The vote is going to happen quite quickly, so that should happen, within the day. But this hotfix was needed to be able to set the parameters changes for Saturn 0. Saturn 0 is not upgraded itself, it's just changing of parameters on the protocol, whereas the Houston hotfix is what enables those parameters to be changed the way that we need them to change.
Yeah. So speaking of Saturn 0, the votes over the last couple of weeks have concluded. That was RPIP 62, which was a tokenomics rework, which included the ETH-only validators and the question of should we get rid of the RPL reward cliff, yes or no. And then, of course, the Houston hotfix was RPIP 63. Those both have closed. Overwhelming support. We had 79% approve this RPIP 63, and we had 79% for RPIP 62 vote to have ETH-only validators and remove the reward cliff. So what does this mean? This means we're going to be seeing ETH-only validators very soon. I think I have the Langer's, here it is. Here's Langer's proposing in Australian time, it'd be October 28th, midnight UTC. I mean, that's not Australian time. But for you and I, it's 8 o'clock. US. Yeah, 8 p.m. on October 27th, right?
Because we're both on East Coast time zone, US.
Yeah. Saturn 0 will be coming on October 27th. That's in about 10 or 11 days.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of complexity to this as well. So let me just explain it really quickly. So the hotfix that we were just talking about, the hotfix that we were just talking about, that's what goes live at 8 p.m. on the 27th on Eastern time, which is 10 a.m. in Australia. Oh. The parameter change itself will actually happen a couple of hours later, and that parameter change is what will allow the Saturn 0 basically to happen to have those ETH-only validators. Now, Langer says, usually we like to bed in the contracts before making other changes, but we've tested all the changes together anyway, so comfortable applying the changes within a few hours of the contract upgrade. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, Halulu and I kind of had a back and forth about why it's going to take so long. It could technically, you could give it a couple of epochs if you wanted, and it should be fine. But Halulu said so 5 minutes later. Yeah,
I was going to say there's talk of having a Saturn 0 party, right, where people in the community get together and we watch it. But it sounds like there's not going to be an exact time. We know that the contract will deploy at 8 o'clock, but then when will we see the first ETH-only validator and celebrate?
2 hours later. Maybe 2 or 3 hours later, depending on what Langers and the team decide to, because they're the ones who are going to bootstrap it. So we're not using the on-chain changing system that we had with Houston. We're just kind of like skipping that for this one, and we're going to leave that for the next one. But we just want it to happen as quickly as possible. So what Langers will do is, once the team feels like the contracts have bedded in, whatever that means, they'll change the parameters. So we're expecting it to be 2 or 3 hours later. So it'll still be on the 20th, I think, Eastern time, but it'll probably be later in the night. So I think we won't start seeing the impact of it really until the following day, when people in Europe start waking up maybe and start, then it's already happened, and then they can potentially start spinning up those validators. And then in the US, of course, people can start doing it on Sunday night and through Sunday night if they wanted. So it's going to be really exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of hype around it. But the call that is being planned with ETHStaker will be just the contract change, not the parameter change, most likely. So that's why I was hoping. The way that I had hoped is that we'd start the call, the contract change would happen, then we'd kind of talk about what Saturn 0 is, and spend 20 minutes or half an hour kind of talking about that stuff, and then at that point, then we'd kind of upgrade the parameters on the call. But maybe I can kind of make a case to Langers for doing it that way, just so we have max hype. But if not, then we'll carry on. It won't make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things.
Right. You're a little integrated with ETHStaker and the community. Is there those guys are they're Rocket Pool aligned, but also a lot of solo stakers within ETHStaker. Is your sense that this is something that they're kind of excited about too, to perhaps earn 30% more yield than a solo, or are they willing to folks in that community to maybe try out ETH-only Minipool or not?
Okay, so I don't know how much I should say about this, but it should tell you, I think I'm kind of bullish on this. So let me explain to you. So I reached out to Nixo a few days ago, and I was like, hey, Nix.
Well, explain who Nixo is.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Nixo's the executive director of ETHStaker. So she's the one who kind of runs the happenings there. However, she recently got hired by the Ethereum Foundation. So her job is kind of being phased out now, and she's going to get replaced potentially by supposedly by other people, but she's still around at the moment. So I reached out to Nixo and I was like, hey Nixo, it'd be really cool if you guys did a live stream for the Saturn Zero upgrade. And she was like, what, Saturn Zero? And I was like, no. Yeah. So I think the reality is that a whole lot of people out there don't actually know that this is happening. And I think sadly, like with Rocket Pool, I feel like in the past, people have kind of heard about things happening and then it taking months and months for that thing to happen. So I think, first of all, people don't know about Saturn Zero. And second of all, people who do know about Saturn Zero think it's some nebulous thing that's going to happen in the future and maybe, like next year or something. So I think very few people actually out there who are, even people who are staking with Rocket Pool already, know that Saturn Zero is coming in 12 days time, 11 days time. Do you know what I mean? So, I think part of what we're doing is like Jasper, myself, we're putting out daily messages on Twitter to our followers. We put out messages on ETH Finance, on our Rocket Pool Discord, sorry, not Discord, Rocket Pool Reddit, and other places where, people might be interested in this messaging. I think that people are reaching out to Anthony Sassano to make sure that he's aware of it and because of Daily Gwei. I think people are going to reach out to David Hoffman to see if they can cover it on the bankless roll-up. So these kind of things I think happen in the works right now. But at the moment, a lot of people don't know about it. And we're hoping that, we kind of educate as many people as possible. For me is bullish.
Yeah. Anthony Sassano and Bankless are both ODAO members.
So ODAO members, exactly.
They should be aware of this, or if they're not, they will be soon.
They'll be aware of it when the vote comes in front of them next week. Yeah, they'll become aware of it very soon. But I'm sure the team is letting them know and stuff as well, to keep them up to date with what's going on. But the reality is that like a lot of people, even Rocket Pool node operators right now, don't know what this is and when it's coming. So, we need to do a better job of getting the messaging out there. And, we've got some really good ideas to do that. So hopefully by the time we get to the 27th, there'll be a lot more interest in this. So the idea, you're going back to your original point is, how a solo staker is going to be digesting this information. I think the fact is that solo stakers don't know about this information. So that's where we are right now.
Well, one of the marketing things we're doing, this is back to NodeSet. You had Rhett from Gravita on your most recent Launchpad episode, and they're promoting it here on their website. So this will be in the show notes if you want to hear in depth with Wack and Rhett. How long is the episode?
Just 25 minutes. It's not too long, because Rhett was actually on the Launchpad episode nearly 2 years ago, where he was one of the first people that I had on. So we didn't go over his story or anything like that. We just got straight into the details, talking about what XRETH is, what XRPL is, what ideas they have for DeFi integrations, what ideas they have for liquidity incentives, all of that stuff, what ideas they have for minting incentives as well. So if you mint XRETH and if you hold it for 6 months, then you will get a share of RPL rewards that are earned by Gravita, which is pretty cool. That's earned by Constellation. So that's a nice little bonus that you could get as well, for being an early minter. And that's for people who mint in the first month. Oh, wow. They're giving you a few weeks there. Yeah. So it's a nice little bonus. But those are the things that we talked about. And then of course on the episode they said that we're launching tomorrow, so it was pretty cool that that all kind of came together in that sense.
Yeah, breaking news. Okay, let's go on to our final item for the week. We had a Smartnode update. So if you're a node operator, this is a recommended release. Deals with some bug fixes, client updates, some minor new features. As you see there, just about all the clients have updated. You got the Gath, Bezu, Reth. I'm sorry, I keep saying Reth, Teku, Nimbus, Nevermind. If you run any of those clients, this has some new software. So just want to make a shout out. I haven't upgraded my Smartnode yet, so this is something I'll be doing. How about you?
Me either.
Have you done it?
Yeah, no, I've not done it either, but I'll gotta do it for the POAP, So there's a POAP available. If you upgrade, you share your screenshot of your updated screen, you can get a POAP. There's some interesting discussion in the POAP thread this time, because there are a couple of competing designs. So we'll see we'll see where that ends up. But there's a POAP for it. So upgrade, it looks like it's all good. However, there are one small issue in that Grafana breaks for some users. The team's trying to figure that out. Fornax is working on what happened there. But other than that, it looks like it's all working fine.
That's good. Yeah, Grafana is we've had issues with that in the past too. I know my Grafana dashboard sometimes, you know, some of the information you have to go back and fix. And yeah.
I haven't checked my Grafana dashboard in a year. So.
Really?
It broke with Atlas.
Yeah.
It broke with Atlas and I never fixed it. So it's been a year and a half.
Really? That's kind of how I figure out whether my node is online or not. Every day I check my Grafana tab to see, is it still working?
Yeah.
But on a personal note, you know, I just moved and when I moved, I transferred, until I can get all set up, I've got it running on the rescue node at the moment. And that's something this week I got to do, is take it off the rescue node and get everything situated down in the basement. Now, I think I mentioned it last week. I thought, I'll set up my rescue node and I'll disconnect my hardware and move all my stuff. And then I realized like 10 hours later when I checked my I was at 0. I said, whoa, what's going on here? I thought I was on the rescue node. And then I went into the support and it's like, oh no, it still has to be connected to the internet so it can talk to the rescue node. So, well, live and learn, but no big deal. 10 hours offline, it's not something that's terrible. I can make it up, but just as anyways, I just want to mention that to everyone. Let's move on to wins this week. I think I know what your win's going to be, but what's your win?
My win is Rhett actually coming on Rocket Fuel and breaking the NodeSet launch date. Like not NodeSet, sorry, the Constellation launch date. That was really, really great that happened. Another thing that was actually a win for me this week as well was that I was the first person to deposit RPL to get XRPL. That was like a little private. Yeah, I was on a little private call with the guys from NodeSet who kind of like testing things out on mainnet once they launched the contracts. So no one knew that I was out there. And they reached out to me and they're like, hey, Wack, would you like to take part in this? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. So that was on Sunday. So I was the first person to mint XRPL, with Nick from the team being the first person to mint XRETH. And then that went into Joe's validator. That was the first validator to make sure everything was working. And then, of course, with Rhett breaking the news and me being the person to break the news of when the launch was going to happen, it's like, I said this in trading as well, like as a passing comment, like it's really touching that people kind of like value me in that way in the community and like they kind of trust me with these things. And it just really, it felt really nice that, they trusted me enough to do this. So that was my win for the week. And of course, NodeSet launching in itself is a huge win, and that's awesome. But I think for me personally, that was my win.
Are you going to NFT it? You should NFT that Ether scan.
No, that's okay. I live on forever on the blockchain anyway. I don't need an NFT for it.
That would be funny. Yeah, my win. I thought for sure it had something to do with NodeSet, but Rhett, breaking. It's kind of like breaking the news on the Launchpad and on your show is pretty cool. Yeah, my win is NodeSet as well. It's a long time coming. It came probably a few weeks earlier than we thought. It looks like they had a successful launch. I'm happy for Wander and Nick. They've had their head down for so many months. They came out of the Rocket Pool community. They wanted to make it. They want to add, this second layer, as they call it, on top of Rocket Pool. So far, so good. I wish those guys luck, and it's going to benefit all of us. Make it easier for people to mint through that. If you don't have a full 8 ETH, you can do it through NodeSet. That's my win. I'm happy to see anyone who puts the time in and is successful in doing a launch. And we've been talking for it's almost a year now, Wack, of all these upcoming changes. And this is the first one. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a second one with Saturn 0. So this is the start of, I think, a renaissance for Rocket Pool. And I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Jasper called it the Rocket Rebirth.
The Rocket Rebirth, the RR, the
Rocket
Rs.
Rebirth. So I want to ask you a question, Pat, okay? 1 week from now, when we're recording again next Thursday, so we're recording a day early this time, so it's 8 days from now, how much ETH will be in the Rocket Pool deposit pool?
Well, we're at about 38,000 right now.
38,200, yeah.
200. I'm going to say 35,000.
Okay, I'm saying 30,000. So let's see who's closer.
I'm always, when we do these predictions, I find myself always a little more conservative than you are. But I love the bullishness.
Let's see.
So you're saying 30 and I'm saying 35?
If I was bullish, I would say that we would have an empty deposit pool. Sadly, I think with the way the numbers are working out, it might take a little bit longer for NodeSet to bring that many validators online. I think they will bring that many validators online. It's just each node operator can only bring in one validator online every 15 hours, and then they have to wait for the ETH to come in, and they've only got 100 to 120 node operators online at the moment. So those things are some bottlenecks basically for how quickly they can empty their deposit pool. But I think we'll be below 30,000 basically. So 8,000 ETH will be gone from the deposit pool next Thursday when we record. So we can check.
That's a 20% reduction. If we start at 40 or get down to 30 in about a week, that's huge. Yeah. 20% in just a week.
But I've also been saying that on October 29th, we'll have an empty deposit pool. So let's see.
That would be awesome. We'll see about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. We really appreciate you tuning in. This is really fun, especially when we got really exciting news. NodeSet, we got Saturn 0 coming up. Spread the word. Tell your friends. It's the RR, the Rocket Pool Renaissance, as Jasper said.
Till next week. Rocket Rebirth.
Rocket Rebirth. I got it wrong.
That's the one. Yeah.
Rocket Pool Rebirth. So take care, guys. We'll see you back next Thursday.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.